Welcome to the Flurza show, or Flurza podcast, or Flurza experience. We haven't really nailed that down, but this is a show about Gwent and so much more. And I'm joined by the Sultan of Suits, Pavel Burza.
Sultan of Suits. That's nice. I already think about Sultans of Swing, and the Sultans of Swing. You know, it's like the best. It's like the best. But yeah, thank you. I like the Flurza experience, but I don't know if we're providing the people listening at home an experience. Probably some type of experience, good or bad. I'll let you people answer that for yourself.
Oh, it's still an experience.
So yes. Wait. This is episode 3 or is this episode 2? Like what, because last time we did episode 1.
Yeah. I was swiftly corrected by our producer, Mark Theus, who said that this is technically episode 3. And I said, well, what about, the pilot doesn't really count as episode 1. And Mark, who has worked in television for many years, said, you idiot, a pilot is technically episode 1. So this is therefore episode 3. So last episode was episode 2, and therefore this is episode 3.
Okay, so episode 3, Revenge of Sharknado.
No,
we're staying with Sharknado or not?
No Sharknados. No Sharknado. I've never seen a Sharknado. Have you watched those movies out of curiosity?
No,
okay.
I haven't actually, to be honest.
So what we could do is when everything gets back to normal and I'm in Warsaw, is we do a Sharknado night at Casa de Burza, and we
nice.
And we get some ponchki, and we sit down and we watch a few Sharknados, and we tell Dominika that she cannot disturb us because we are too dobre chłopczyk watching movies. That's
You had me at the ponchki part. I'm already down. Like once you said ponchki, it's like, okay.
Sold. There's actually a piece about ponchki that I wanted to get to, but we'll get to that a little bit after. There was actually something I was digging for and I could not find, but maybe in a future episode. But still, no Sharknados. We're not doing a Sharknado.
Okay. For next episode, we'll come up with a new name. Something breathtaking and, like extravagant and all that.
Yeah.
But let's go back to this episode. So on this episode, we'll be talking a little bit about Project Golden Nekker because it was all over the news this week. Mm-hmm. We have, of course, the brand new Babcia Marusia Polish Word of the Week, which is, very important. Mm-hmm. And of course, we will answer your questions from the mailbag.
Another standard episode, but it's a pretty beefy one because Golden Nekker Project is something that people have been basically trying to figure out for a long time. I was trying to figure out when this kind of was first dropped on us, and I think it's like over a year that this has kind of been teased and just kind of the breadcrumbs. I don't know if you can kind of drop in on when it was, but I know that Jason Slama has been talking about it or just kind of dropping little hints here and there for quite some time. As long as I remember, it kind of evolved from a throwaway meme to what it is today, which is now, the information about it is out there. But before we dive into that, there is the Dagon rumor report, the official forecast for Dagon appearances in Gwent. And who better to tell us about that than Pavel Burza?
And yes, we have the report here. I have it in front of me. Looking at it, there is a 1% chance of Dagon, which after revision and strict accounting has been adjusted to 0.
Okay. So, perfect. Yeah. I have a friend of mine by the name of, his screen name is Lunchbox, which is hilarious. He's my buddy Noah, and I love him so much. And he always used to say, because we worked together briefly, he's in the restaurant. He's a general manager of like a very popular restaurant. And yeah, he started from the bottom. Now he's here. Like when I started like waiting tables and bartending, he had just been promoted to like one of like the service managers, but we worked in the same area, in the same restaurant. And he's a very no nonsense, get the job done, be respect. Like he's like awesome. He's an all-star in the industry, but He used to say whenever someone would come to him with a dumb request, he'd always say, he's like, there's a 10% chance of that happening with a 10% margin of error rounded down to 0% chance, so don't even think about it. I was like, that's always...
That makes a lot of sense.
It's just always funny how he would come up to that. Another Noah-ism would be, he's like, when someone would ask him something ridiculous, he's like, what bus do you take? Because I want to know where you get off asking me that. I was like, that's so good.
Smart man. I mean, to make up those calculations on the go, like, smart man.
Yeah, he's so good. But yeah, there's none. All right, so let's start the episode. Well, I mean, we've already started it, but let's dig into the Wayback Machine as we go and check a little bit about what the goings on in Gwent history. And it was actually a quiet week overall over the span of several years, and part of it was because the Gwent news cycle or the Gwent news page would not let me go beyond 2019. It just stopped loading news, which was surprising. So I guess apparently it's
interesting.
Yeah. Usually the way that I do this is I go to playgwent.com and under news, I click more news and I keep clicking more news until I get to like 2018, 2017. And then I find whatever was going on in that week and I pick and choose what I want.
Yeah.
But this time, after 2019, it was like May 2019. It said, nope, this is all you're getting. So unfortunately, I couldn't do too much. But in 2020, we got patch 5.1. This week in 2020, patch 5.1, which was massive. I counted.
It's crazy.
I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a mathologist. But I did the counting on all of my fingers and toes. 137 changes, and over 120 to 130 of those were card changes, like adjustments and retoolings. That is humongous.
Yeah. There were some changes also with that one. I think it was the first one that we stopped offering full mill value for rework cards. Also, like, there were some fixes because it was just after Merchants of Ophir, so fixes to that. And a big nerf to Tunnel Drill at that time, because I think Tunnel Drill at that time was kind of running rampant, if I remember correctly. And I remember getting a nerfy nerf. And and there was some changes also to things related to artifacts at that time. Small nerf to Kaltulis, so people were not too happy about those. So yeah, and I
would happy.
When it comes to card games, people are hardly ever happy, to be honest, because everybody envisions some changes in their kind of own way. Like, I would like this to change in this way, but if you change this in that way, that is not something that I like, right?
More or less. The way that I envision it is that those who are unhappy will be vocal, and those who are happy will just play the game. And then once there's a change, those who have been, feel slighted in any way will then be the ones who are vocal. And it's just this carousel of
exactly.
It's basically, all right, everyone grab the person to your right and circle jerkulate. And that's kind of the scientific term I'm going to use. This
nice.
is a
well
PG-13 show here. However, the video I was looking at was because as deep as it went, there was a video where you did like a This Week in Gwent, one of those like super hyper fast ones, and it was the one where you're like, oh, new year, new me, I should get in shape. You snap your fingers, and then there's like 2 dumbbells that appear, and you're like, that's not what I meant. You snap your fingers again, and it's cake, and you start stuffing your face with cake. First of all, kudos for stuffing an entire piece of cake in one bite.
Oh, come on, easy.
Effortlessly, though. Like, no friction, no nothing. Just gates open, stuff it in, good to go.
That's how we roll.
Yeah.
That's how we roll, man.
Well, you're a pro at it, but what I was looking for was the video of you on loop just eating the same punch key for like 20 minutes or something like that.
That's for Fat Thursday, which is coming actually this month. End of this month, there's Fat Thursday, so that will be the time where we're going to be stuffing our faces with punch key. I'm already thinking about maybe doing something for the occasion. Since we're stuck at home, like maybe we can do something. I don't know.
I'll bake a cake.
No, order Ponchki, like a million of them, and eat them.
Okay,
Stream the experience.
I have a question for you because this is
Mhm.
a very vivid memory I have. When I used to be dragged to Polish church with my babcia and my mom, after church, there was always some dude in the parking lot who would basically pull up the car to everybody coming out of church. Like he would leave church like 2 minutes before it was done, pull up the car in front, open the trunk, and in the trunk were all kinds of like pastries and punchki that he would sell to like the little old babas that walk out of this like church. And like I remember because my babcha and my mom would line up and we'd go home with like 2 boxes of punchki because this guy
Good.
would sell them out of the trunk. I'm just curious if this kind of black market pastry thing is like is this just a Montreal Polish society kind of thing, or is it more so like straight from the motherland?
No, I think it's stopped right now. I mean, there's so many bakeries and stuff that people don't resell pastries anymore, but there used to be a market for this. Like people would go and buy them, in bulk, a little bit cheaper if they, if they knew the owner, if they,
Yeah.
had some connections at the bakery or something like that. So they would buy that stuff, like, put it in the car and then sell it. And kind of after church is like the best spot because people go there in the morning, like, they go to mass, and after mass they're like, oh, let's go, I don't know, let's go have coffee, tea, or whatever,
Yeah.
and then something sweet to eat. So they knew that, this is their core market, and this is where they should be, selling it and profiting off of that.
Yeah.
So it's not something that I see here like anymore. I think it would be shady now, and people are kind of, if someone is selling something from the trunk of their car, is like, you do not know like if this is like legit stuff or is there something added to it, like
Yeah, I mean, in the '90s, it was a different story. It was just,
yeah.
yeah, and I get it. Like you want to sort of take away that aftertaste of church with sweets and deliciousness. So that's
Well said.
but yeah, and it's funny because I always thought like so my mother was born in Poland and moved to Canada, and my father is Italian, and I am convinced that my dad learned Polish so that when he goes to the bakeries and whatever, he speaks Polish to the people who work there so that he gets a discount. Like
This is important.
it's
This is very
such a
important.
strategy. Like he is just like, no, he's like, it's not just to speak to your mother's relatives. It's also so that I can get kielbasa at 20% off. I was like, hey, I'm
Important.
in. And as a chubby child that I was like, oh yes, you do what you got to do, Papa. I'm in, baby. I'm in.
Yeah, all the good food always. And yeah, Fat Thursday, I just checked, is 24th of February this year.
I'm
Yeah.
in. Well, I want
Yeah.
another Punchki video. What day does that fall on? Is that the 24th?
It always needs to fall on a Thursday
Oh, right,
because it's
Fat
called
Thursday.
Fat Thursday.
Yeah.
Fat Thursday, yeah.
I'm an idiot. What day is Saturday Night Live on?
Well, Saturday Night Live is on Saturday, and
Gotcha.
Fat Thursday is on a Thursday.
So we could
Who would have thought of
honestly,
that?
I mean, our podcast actually publishes on Thursdays. So
So when we're recording, I'm already going to be start eating
you
ponchki.
should. That is absolutely what you should do. You should see how many you can eat in one episode of Flurza. And that's going to be, I think, in like 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now. So
Yeah, something like that.
yeah, dude, episode 6 is going to be punchki filled. And
It's even better to start on a Wednesday and continue on the Thursday. You can treat it like a warm up, kind of getting to the mood of the whole thing, and then just continue through it, right?
yeah, qualifiers, right?
Yeah, qualifiers, main event, and then cool down on Friday,
Oh, boy.
and then go to the doctor and check your blood sugar. Is like woo.
Yeah, all in 1 week of just pure body abuse. I'm all for it. I just want to talk real quick about something because you mentioned that patch 5.1 you said might have been the first patch where they didn't offer full refunds on for milling cards that got changed. And I know that is one of the main reasons why I have so many in-game resources for playing from beta was the fact that a lot of the cards went through so much transformation and the refunds just basically stocked my coffers with tons and tons of value. I want to know, this is to the listeners, I want you guys to tweet at us or send us screenshots of your piles of resources because I want to see who's got like the most. And I know that
Same.
people like Shinmiri and such, they have like this massive pile, but I want to see how much gold you're hoarding, how many keys, well, keys didn't count, but like gold and scraps and I guess dust. But send us your screenshots of the amount of stuff you have, because we're gonna have like the wealth of the week. I guess I don't know.
You will be surprised because there's a lot of so-called Gwent whales that have shit ton of everything. Like really, you're gonna be surprised because I think we some time ago we actually went into these statistics, and there is a lot of resources, especially gold and stuff like that. Scraps also, but also like a lot of reward points because we're kind of running out of places to use those up. So we're seeing players like accumulate like really big numbers of those.
I actually suggested a few times to Vlad before he was Big Vlad and he was just Medium Vlad. And I said, I'm like, there's so many people with just this massive, hoard of scraps or gold or whatever. And really there's no right way to spend them that feels good because we have all the cards. We're not going to buy kegs. The events, like it doesn't feel right to spend them on events because we're getting cards as rewards for events. So I said, I'm like, there are, for instance, Hearthstone did an event where it was like for 10,000 gold, which was a lot for that. You enter like the premium arena where the rewards were massive. Like if you go if you win 7 games, it's like 40 packs, which was huge. And I thought it was a good way for both players to feel like they're doing something with their resources, but at the same time, CDPR to just go ahead and sink some of this floating resources that everyone has, so that when new product does come in, it's not just a situation where everybody can dump these hordes on cards. And I'm thinking from this from both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
That CDPR has a way for these massive amounts of resources to just kind of be used so that when new product comes out, people might have to buy them rather than just use what they have. But at the same time, for players who are just sitting on this stuff and feel like it's just collecting dust, it's an option. I'm wondering if that is still something that you guys are actually kind of discussing.
Like when it comes to resources and their abundance, like we're thinking what would be a good way to actually, find like a perfect solution to find a sink for these things. So players get something cool out of it, but still, they can use the resources on something that is meaningful and makes sense instead of just, having a lot of resources and not having an option to use them in any way. So yeah, it's something that keeps on coming back. Like it's an ongoing topic, and whenever we think like, okay, we have like a solution for it, then we go back to the drawing board and we're like, oh no, maybe this won't actually work the way that it's supposed to. So it's a back and forth process, to be honest. And hopefully, like this year, we get to find like a super good solution for it, because we're just gonna run into a point where there are players that just have a lot of things, and I also feel like if you're a new player starting the game, when it comes to like making a tier 1 deck, it's not that difficult. Like if you play a lot and you grind it out, I mean, you can do it. And I think Gwent, based on looking at the other CCGs, and I tried to play a lot of them and like test them and see them, like in those games, like getting resources is super difficult. But in Gwent, I feel like even if I started today from 0, I would be able to build my favorite deck very, very quickly.
Yeah, I think players with a plan can basically make a tier 1 deck. They could have a tier 1, no problem deck in probably about 10 hours of gameplay. If they're using their resources correctly, open the kegs that they need for the factions that they're playing, like if you focus and have a plan in terms of how you're using your keys and how and such, you can have a very, very, very good deck in a small amount of time. And that leaves players to, be competitive early and makes the game feel a lot better. I know there's a lot of games out there where, despite the fact that this is kind of like my career, this is my whole wheelhouse is card games, and having sunk a lot of time into things like Magic or Hearthstone or whatever, I still never felt like I was out ahead of the curve, despite even spending money on this stuff. So count your stars sometimes when it comes to this kind of stuff. But
yeah, I agree. And I feel like, the entry point into a lot of card games, like, the problem is that you want to really like have one of the best decks, but in order to do it, you have to play really, really a lot. While at Gwent, I feel like you said, if you manage your resources well and you kind of know what you're doing, and it's like a thought out process instead of just buying everything without any like thinking behind it, it's much easier to get something good and competitive and actually climb ranks and perform super well with it. Where like you said, also other titles, like I've been trying, but it's just you never feel like you're, like you say, you never feel like you're ahead of the curve. And also, even if you make like one deck which you feel like is good, then you know how it is playing one deck. Like you cannot only play one deck, you'll get bored of it. Like you'll move on to something else. So you're gonna have to, I don't know. At least it's good to have at least, I don't know, 2 or 3 decks that you like go back and forth on. And then something changes, meta shifts, new update, whatever, and then you need to go back to the drawing board and restart and kind of think about like what you want to build off of that. So it's never easy being into card games and all that stuff.
When I got back into Magic briefly, I just wanted to sort of dip my toe into it last year again, just say like, I mean, I put a lot of time and money into playing Standard way back when, and I figured, I'm like, you know what, let's try it again. So excuse me, I got back into my account. I looked at what I had. A lot, like rotation had happened, so a lot of the cards that I was playing are no longer legal. I couldn't just go and say pick a deck and do it, because I was just doing the math on things. I'm like, I don't have enough for one deck. I don't have enough for one deck, and I played all the time. So in order for me to actually play and be competitive, I literally had to lean on talking to my extended Magic family, out there. I had to speak to some Magic pros. I had to speak to some casters. I had to actually just kind of get their advice and say, this is what I have. What should I build? And once that deck was built, I'm like, this is all I'm playing. This is all I can play. And if I wanted to make something else, it was okay. I need to dump about $90 to get another bundle, and then open packs, get wild cards, and see what happens. It never felt good. It never felt good.
Yeah, it's difficult. Plus, you need to open like a number of set packs, and once you do, you actually have the possibility to craft a rare. And then if it's a mythic, then you need to crack like, I don't even know how many, but it's the process is just so long. And I also recently started like going back to it and like just to see how Arena is performing more or less, and looking at the whole thing, like building a competitive deck, and it just takes so long. And the only thing, like there is like a whole section dedicated just to this on YouTube of people who are trying to crack the code. Like what's the most linear approach you can have in order to get as many wild cards, or how to do the dailies properly, which ones you should be rotating in order to get one that gives you more gold, possibly, or how to get more XP, which events to take part in. It's just like it's so much. It becomes like a whole job aside of just playing the game and enjoying the game. And this is something that I'm not a big fan of, but I also know that card games, they need to make money somehow. And they cannot make it too easy for everybody to be playing the same deck. Although the thing still in Magic is that there's so many cards, there's so many sets that you are able to build some crazy things. And then most of the time when you build something crazy that doesn't make sense for your opponent, they are more likely to lose to you because they don't know what you're playing. Like the most important thing in Magic, I think, is just to know like what your opponent is playing more or less. So you can expect kind of the plays that are coming your way, and then you know how to counter stuff or how to play around things, right?
I'm going to be in Philadelphia next week or 2 weeks from now, 11th. Yeah, next week. So the 11th through the 14th they're having Star City Games is having a major like Flesh and Blood tournament, but it's the Flesh and Blood tournament's like secondary to the major MTG stuff. So Flesh and Blood's on Sunday. I'll be participating in that tournament, but on the Saturday I'll be there with some people playing some of the side events for the new set for Magic. I said, you know what? It's limited. I love limited, so we're going to do that. That should be exciting.
Nice.
It's going to be
for Flesh and Blood, are you going to be there work-related, or are you going to be there enjoying, having fun, and playing some games?
It's going to be half-half. I'm not casting anything because they're not doing casting for that event. Trust me, I've been kicking down their doors about that, and they're like, we're just not broadcasting it. I will be there to record some Flesh and Blood content, to interview some people, and to play. So, I mean, ultimately, the playing is the best part. Plus, I don't know if you remember No Control, but No Control is in that area.
Of course I do.
Yeah, so No Controls and I are going to be there. We're going to be playing in the event, and
Oh, nice.
yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we're still trying to get Mark Theus, the producer of this show, to get there. He's on the fence still. He's like,
I mean, what is he even thinking about? I mean, you gotta go.
that's what I said, and he's like, well. He's like, I'm not going to be playing much of the cards. I'm like, well, we're not going to, I'm like, just come hang out. I'm like, I said, the hotel's already paid for. You don't need to pay for the hotel. You stay with us. You know, you come around. We want,
Plus, it's the whole, atmosphere of the thing. I mean, unless he doesn't feel safe due to, the pandemic times that we have right now, I kind of get that. But on the other hand, like, even if you don't play, like participating in the whole thing and the event itself, and seeing people there, like it's like a whole con, right? It's like everything is happening there. So people are selling singles, and there's a lot of pros and aspiring pros and all the formats possible. It's just cool to like just breathe it all in, get all the nerd juices flowing.
Yeah, that's why I want to go. I want to go and just reignite that flame, light the spark under my dupa and get myself back in motion for card games and such, because it's been a while. So I'm super excited. All right. Golden Nekker Project, Mr. Pavel Burza, you recently were interviewed by IGN, if I'm not mistaken, and kind of just you lifted the curtain on what a lot of people were speculating about. A lot of the Gwent fandom was really just throwing things at the wall to see what stuck in terms of what they thought Golden Nekker Project was. But basically, what a lot of people surmised was going to be a PvE situation, a player versus environment, a one-player game, is what it is. And can you kind of just give us a little bit more insight now that we know the scope of what Golden Nekker Project is? Does it tie into Gwent? This is our podcast. I'm not meant to be interviewing you, but you're the one with all the nuts and bolts about this, and you're the one who got interviewed. So too bad, so sad. Answer the damn question, Pavel Burza.
Actually, it's a very interesting one, because most of the things and news for Project Golden Nekker were actually already out there, right? Because they were. Like, it was something that we mentioned last December, and Vlad talked about it. I talked about it. I think on the first episode that we did, the pilot episode of Flurza, we also touched upon that. And it's funny because we had Ryan Dinsdale come over, send an email that he's writing an article for IGN, and he quoted, wait for this, the Flurza podcast as one of his sources where he got information about the project. Woo! So yes, we made it, man.
We're legit.
We might not have a sponsor, but we were quoted by a journalist from IGN, which already makes us, we're going up.
I am so happy that we have, maybe that counts as getting that little check mark next to my Twitter account name. Because I think what you need for that is you need to be referenced in a media source or some sort of journalistic.
Dude, I applied for that twice and I never got it. It doesn't work that way. It's so difficult to get it. I even took this article and tried to do it, but it didn't work. So now, since there are so many articles in so many languages, I think I'll just send them like 20, and I'm like, here's my name.
I'm on the Flurza podcast. Come on, you schmuck.
Yes.
Let's go.
I mean, Flurza podcast. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know, like, it was one of the things that he said that he watched. So yeah, we're here in the major leagues right now. And the other thing was the roadmap that we did in December, where Vlad was kind of talking about the project, and we showcased a little bit more things. Him and Jason were kind of showing some of the stuff, and pretty much they came to us asking like if we can put some information together for them. So what we did is we pretty much confirmed everything which was kind of already said, but I think we put it in one place because you know how it is with information. Like, it might be out there, but until actually someone comes and puts the whole thing together, it becomes a thing. And I really appreciate the opportunity that I have. That's one thing, and the other thing, I really appreciate this professional journalistic approach when it comes to gathering facts and basing a piece off of that. It's really, really amazing. It was really cool.
Journalistic integrity is like that is my motto, frankly. It's being respectable and very refined, I think.
Mhm.
If anyone would ever kind of throw adjectives at me of my broadcasting career, it's by the book, scripted, and rigid, I think.
Like you scripted, really?
Yeah, no, never. You and I
Never.
together. Every time they
No, we're
send us,
not.
here's the run of show. Cool. Goodbye. Yeah.
Yeah. Like scripts are not, are not our big thing. So yeah, like pretty much at that time, we were able to, confirm some of the things. We kind of went back and forth. But yeah, I mean, the number one thing was kind of to say that yes, there is a project called Golden Nekker. We plan to launch it this year, so 2022. So everything here is okay, and then we're kind of thinking like, we can't really share more information about the project itself because like it's still like if we wanted to announce this and do like a whole campaign for it, like time for that will come. Like, don't worry about it. What we wanted to highlight for sure is that it's not another Witcher Tales, because people were thinking that it's Stormbreaker 2, like easily, but no, it's something totally different. We wanted to say that it's a single player experience for players that prefer it over the multiplayer Gwent. And pretty much that was it. And then we kind of shared all the assets that we had for the project, which we already showed to the community. Like, if you're in Gwent, all these things. You've seen the Golden Nekker, you've seen all the arts that we were showing, and we kind of added one thing on top. Is we added the barbarian art for IGN to show. And and it kind of snowballed from there, like which was really cool. So yeah, I think this was pretty much the whole thing, and it's nice that it made it to the major news outlets, because people already started speculating about it, like what can it be, what is it tied to, when it's gonna come out. And also a lot of people came in asking us for any additional information or quotes, but based off of the stuff that we said already about the project, this is kind of what we can say at this time. And once we'll have more information, we'll be coming back and letting everybody know what's going on and how it's going to go down.
Ooh, so this could be a source. This show might be a source for future Golden Nekker Project information.
And also one thing, just to add the thing that you were saying, like we are treating this like a standalone thing. It does not require multiplayer Gwent in order to play. So, but it can be also part of Gwent. So it's kind of like similar. I don't want to compare it to Thronebreaker, but it was kind of similar to Thronebreaker. Like, you could play it as a standalone title without ever touching multiplayer Gwent. But if you had multiplayer Gwent, you could also check out, Thronebreaker. So this is Project Golden Nekker is also going to be something like that. And I like that it's called Project Golden Nekker, and it got its name because for the first time when we showed it, like, it was me and Jason on one of the dev videos. We showed like a card art of a Golden Nekker, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, this is Project Golden Nekker," and it became a thing. And I like how organically things become things, right?
Yeah.
Without you pushing for it. It just got its own code name. We didn't need to come up with a code name even for it, right?
That's it. It's like in any kind of sport, the best nicknames are the ones that you don't give yourself. Don't ever give yourself a nickname. It's not how you earn them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Project Golden Nekker being a standalone game, a lot of the concerns or the hope for Project Golden Nekker that I always hear about is the fact that it's like this messiah for Gwent, that it is like the rocket ship attached to Gwent that's going to propel it into another freaking dimension, when in reality, we already had something similar to this in Thronebreaker, and as amazing as Thronebreaker was and what it added to Gwent in terms of cards and such, and a lot of people say that Thronebreaker is incredible. I haven't done much of Thronebreaker, and I'm guilty of that because whenever I don't necessarily play too many single player games. If oftentimes, I think I've said this before, but if I'm going to be playing a game with a story, for me, I'd rather sit and read a book. Like, that's more relaxing for me. But it's something that I'm going to get into. But Thronebreaker has already been out there as a single player entity associated with Gwent. And what I've always been confused about is why people think that Project Golden Nekker is like some sort of massive propellant for Gwent on its own. And maybe you can kind of like just talk a little bit about how Project Golden Nekker might be associated towards Gwent. Like, where are the links? I know that some of the questions I got were, and one of the concerns that I voiced in our Discord, in like our developer Discord, was I said that it would be really nice, and it's probably too late now, but if Project Golden Nekker had a built-in, way to lure the players that are playing this project into multiplayer Gwent, to kind of bridge that gap, to kind of leave the breadcrumbs to get you to the gingerbread house, so to speak. But in reality, I'm just wondering where those links exist and if they do exist.
Like, the thing, like, it will be in some way connected to Gwent, but it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be different, because I think that the most important thing that I mentioned here, like, is we're trying to provide a single player experience to players that are not necessarily interested in being competitive multiplayer, but kind of, you are still playing the card games, the cards, they seem to you like very familiar, although you're playing something different. And I mean, the link is going to be there depending if you're a Gwent player, that, it will make sense for you to play it. I think it also made sense for a lot of people who are part of our community and have been, going back and forth telling people like, you need to check out Thronebreaker. Even after a couple of years that it has launched, we still get, threads everywhere of people saying like, you need to check out Thronebreaker. Thronebreaker is on sale. You need to play it. So the only thing that, was problematic when it comes to Thronebreaker is the fact that it was released at the same time when we were doing finishing everything with Homecoming. So kind of these two things, instead of like working towards each other, I feel like they started working against each other. Like, you're either checking this out or you're playing this. And a lot of people gravitated towards normal competitive multiplayer Gwent because they wanted to see all the changes, all the things that were happening. And then they kind of, neglected a little bit of Thronebreaker. Well, I feel like what we're doing here is gonna actually enhance and create more players coming in, checking this title out. And based off of that, they'll be like, okay, I like this, but maybe I want to try something different. And then they will move on to the competitive multiplayer aspect of Gwent. And I just feel like these two things will be working hand in hand. And since they're coming out separately, and since there's already a buzz around it, that, if we keep this momentum going, it's going to be good for us moving, forward with everything Gwent related and stuff like that. Because, I mean, it doesn't take a lot for us to see, like, what's going on with our player base and, when it comes to sales and stuff like that. Like, whenever something Witcher related happens, not connected to us, like, it doesn't need to have Gwent, it just needs to have like Witcher attached to it. Like, we see an influx of players, we see an influx of like spending in the game done by players and stuff like that. We see more people coming to the community, a lot more new faces asking a lot of questions and stuff like that. That is kind of, propelling and driving the momentum behind the whole thing. And I think this is also going to have the same thing, except that these things are in some way similar enough that, you will be incentivized to check out multiplayer Gwent because it will have some familiarities between the two projects, right?
Well, I'm excited to dive into it. It's exceptional to me. I know that so I haven't been streaming for several weeks, and I know that if I do eventually go back to streaming, it's going to be to play Thronebreaker. And I don't know when Golden Nekker Project is coming out, but I feel like it's just a much more like stressless approach to getting back into it. I can't wait to see what this becomes. Again, everybody who's asking me, specifically Flake, what Golden Nekker Project is and what to expect, I don't know. I am not within that.
I know, but I can't tell you. Like, that's pretty much it. Like, if I told you what it is like today, right now, it would ruin the whole planning campaign, everything that we have behind it. So it would not make sense.
Ask this punk right here, and he's not going to tell you because he's well disciplined and he's a good boy. But it's at the same time, stop asking me because I don't know. I do not know, and I get asked on the regular stuff about all kinds kinds of stuff that I don't know.
To be honest, I think it's better to not know and
Yes.
be asked and not have the pressure of always, like even when we're talking right now, I have so many words jumping into my brain and that my brain is kind of jumping over them like hurdles, like, oh, I can't say this, oh, I can't say this, oh, maybe this is a bit too much, oh, dial it back, oh, maybe say a little bit more. But I have this thing in my personality that I like to take risks and I like to do things against kind of the well, I wouldn't say like a little bit of anarchy kind of going against the grain in some way. I kind of have that, so I always like to add a little bit more into it. I think I also made a lot of hints about it but I don't think people have really picked up on those things, so yeah, now everybody's gonna be like checking every word just in case, but yeah, it's much easier to not have the knowledge and than actually being asked, getting asked questions, not having the knowledge, because then you say I don't know and it's true, and I can't say I don't know, but I can just say, well, I cannot tell you right now, but I know what it is, right? So it's like,
there's a bunch of internet detectives and sleuths out there who, if they're doing their homework, you mentioned previously on an episode where somebody out there has actually accurately guessed what it was. You just never acknowledged it, obviously, but it's out there amidst the sea of dozens and dozens and dozens of predictions. Someone got it right. So all you Sherlocks out there, you guys can go ahead and check the books and cameras, and you'll find it.
Dive into it.
Yeah.
Do your wonderful deductions on those. But yeah, I'm just excited for it to happen. I'm really excited about the coverage that we got this week about it. Like, we were even on Forbes, and people were speculating if we're gonna have NFTs in the game, and I could say no NFTs because I hate NFTs. So
the dumbest thing ever.
I mean, NFTs in gaming is one of the biggest topics right now that is kind of coming back. I think it's still one of the biggest topics because a lot of people are jumping on the NFT train, and we're kind of seeing that there are, of course, people who are into that and they really they like the whole idea, but there are just so many people that are just against it, and it's not good.
You want to light your reputation on fire? That's one way to do it. It's 3 letters. This one trick. Yeah, this one trick. 3 letters.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. Just put in NFT and you'll get traction.
We do have the mailbag coming up, but we do have some other stuff we got to get to, such as we do have to hit the Shinmiri.
We can't lose. Oh,
we can't lose.
Oh, yes. Prediction of the week. And last week we gave our Shinmiri We Can't Lose prediction of the week. And I got a message from somebody saying, hey, did you see this? Because mine came true. I hit mine directly square in the face a couple of days ago. My prediction last week was that somebody was going to make a big post talking about how the Milva nerf was bad and that Milva needs to be put back to where she was. And we got that, and I don't have the person.
Ding, 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 ding.
So I am 1 for 1, baby. What was yours? I do not remember what your prediction was. God, I'm such a terrible friend and co-host.
There were a couple. Like, there was Milva for sure. There was one about Dagon coming back. There was one about custom card for rent free, but I didn't see those things. To be honest.
So I'm going to ask you for this week. What is your Shinmiri?
We can't lose. Oh, fuck.
Prediction of the week.
It was actually, I think we'll be seeing more art that is submitted for the Gwent art contest, because we're nearing very close to the end of the contest and people are already sending their submissions. And I already saw a lot of cool submissions, and there were also a lot of ones which were posted on Reddit of the artists that are taking part in the whole thing. So you can check those out. They're amazing. They're really cool. And there will be more for sure this week. And I think there will be some probably, dear CDPR, please add this to the game, and probably some complaints about the meta going stale. But it's good because we're close to the upcoming patch. Actually, fun thing, I'll be recording tomorrow the video for developer update for the next patch. So
delicious.
So actually tomorrow, meaning the day where you're actually watching this when this is airing. So if this is airing on a Thursday, then that's the day that we'll be recording the developer patch overview for the next update. So lots of cool stuff coming there.
Busy
Can't
man.
wait. And Journey is coming. New Journey, and people don't know who it is, and people are not gonna guess who it is, and it's gonna be so good.
Maybe it's not a who,
excited.
but an it.
Maybe it's
Ooh.
an it.
Maybe it's an it. Maybe it's a thing. Maybe it's not a thing. Maybe it's an entity, an idea, a concept.
Maybe it's a he. Maybe it's a she. You don't know.
Maybe it's a plant. Maybe it's a mineral. Who knows? We don't know what it is.
Plant? Why plant?
I-
You're all for the plants.
I am all for the plants.
Plants everywhere.
Absolutely. All right. My Shinmiri We Can't Lose prediction of the week is going to be. I'm going to say that there is going to be a gigantic post regarding why Golden Nekker Project is not a good idea and why CDPR needs to focus on something else. That's my prediction.
Dude, you're so good at these.
I'm so good at
I
these.
didn't think about that.
Yeah,
Jesus. But
that's
that makes so much sense.
That's what I'm gonna say. If you listen, if you're at the roulette table, baby, negativity is like 90% of the board. So just jam a chip on it, and you're gonna.
I always
cash
think
out.
that people will do something nice and positive and not never think about that, But yeah, I mean that makes so much sense. Like for sure, someone will say that. For sure, someone will do that.
Someone was really, really, really awesome. So every Monday is when I post on Reddit saying, "Hey, if you got questions for the Flurza podcast or whatever, please drop them in," or Monday or Tuesday. And somebody, and you saw this, somebody merely said, "No question, only gratitude. This has been a very positive experience for me playing Gwent," and that to me is bloody awesome because there needs to be more vocal. There needs to be more volume on people who are just enjoying themselves and I get it. If you're enjoying yourself, you're just enjoying yourself. You don't necessarily need to go out there and flaunt it.
People don't talk.
No, and that's fine.
Because everything is fine, right?
Yeah. But for people, myself, a content creator, for yourself, also a content creator, but also in the development process, it's great to hear this stuff because it's out there and the sentiment exists. It's just not as vocal. The negativity, I say, is frankly 10% of the noise at 200% volume, right? And so you're gonna hear that aspect just drown out the rest of it. But there's so much positivity out there, and it's always great to hear. It's always
That's what we need. And I think we also get a lot of positivity. Like it was something that we were mentioning in our community when there's someone new coming in. And they're like, I want to know more about this game. And there's so much like positivity at that time. Like people flood, like, this is cool. This is awesome. Try this, buy this, check out these decks, or check out, I don't know, this professional team. Like they have like a whole meta snapshot. Check those things out. Like people like, they really help people coming into the game and starting off. So that's when you see it. And also sometimes you just get full gratitude, which is amazing and is awesome. Always super thankful for that because like you said, it's not something that is super very common. Like, of course, we see a lot of questions and a little bit of negativity, sometimes a little bit more depending on the decisions that we make. But of course, it's always good to see some positivity, and it's like, oh, this is nice, this is refreshing, and people actually appreciate the work that you and the other people working on the project input, but also people who are creating content around the whole game and everything. So that's awesome.
Yeah, you just have to sift through like 900 custom card posts about people reworking Wild Hunt. Like that's all you got to do. If you can get past that,
easy.
Yeah, I will also take this opportunity to remind people that r/custom Gwent is a thing. It's a thing. It's out there. The poor guy who runs that.
Use it.
Yeah, the poor guy who runs that subreddit is like, it's what we're here for. It's what we're here for.
Yeah. Why
right.
aren't they sending the custom cards to us? They're posting them everywhere but here.
Yeah. It's like you're sending your letters to Santa, but you're sending them to like, I don't know, McDonald's. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Instead of like the North Pole, South Pole.
All right, it is time, ladies and gentlemen, for the Babcia Marysia Polish word of the week. And the word of the week, as suggested by Mama Flake, my mother, actually. There were two. I tried very hard to convince my mom to record a brief thing because when I showed her the video of the previous Babcia Marysia word of the week, which was kurczaki, she asked me, she said, is that boy that you do the show with?
Oh, I was called a boy.
Is he Polish? Is he in Poland? I said, yes, he's in Warsaw. He's like one of my buddies, and like we're like brothers. And she was so excited, and she said, is that his real name? I said, yeah, that's his last name. And then she went on and explained to me what Burza meant. And I said, can you record that? Because I want to add it to the show. And she was like, no. But what she did do is she gave me the new Polish word of the week from Babcia Marysia, which is ja ci dam, or ja ci pokażę. So can you explain to me? Let me give you some context. All right, here's the context. It's myself, my sister, my cousins. We're all at Babcia's house. And she told us not to do something, and I would say, I'm going to do it anyways. And she's like, oh, ja ci dam, or oh, ja ci pokażę. So what does that mean?
Well, it's a mild threat saying, I'll show you, or you will see. Like, when I come over there, like, you're going to be in trouble. So, yeah, ja ci dam is like you can translate it like word for word is I will give you, but in this sense it doesn't mean I won't give you anything, but when I get to you, and if you actually do that, you'll be in big trouble.
Yeah, there were tons of threats. There were all kinds of threats, but most of the actual action was usually in the sense of like giving me chocolate and candy and lots of love. Because my Babcia never disciplined. I don't think she ever She was
same here.
Threats aplenty. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, she had a bag of threats, just throwing them. Like
I think it's in the Babcia grandma MO. Like there will be threats. There'll be like, oh, you better watch out. You better not do that because something, But still, if you break the rules, like there were never any like severe consequences.
Nothing.
Never. Like I never got scolded in any way or anything like that. It was just there were actually more threats and kind of things that to let you like think maybe this is not something that I should be doing, or maybe I should think twice before I actually do this. Before going straight into action and actually doing something, that kind of gave you this approach to it that maybe I need to think twice before I move on this.
All right, there it is. That is your Babcia Marysia Polish word of the week, ja ci dam, or ja ci pokażę, which is I'm gonna give you it, or I'll show you. Nothing says quality.
How's that restaurant deal that's going to happen?
Like, the Blue Jeans. Yes. Blue Jeans restaurant. I got to talk to my cousin's Bishek, and he's going to...
Dude, you got to get on that.
I do. Blue Jeans restaurant. Make sure you go. It's in Poland somewhere. Blue Jeans restaurant in Poland. Go check it out. It's a family affair. You like some good quality American food in Poland? Go to Blue Jeans restaurant. All right. Yeah. We'll be right back with the mailbag.
All right, we are back with the mailbag, and we have a couple questions coming in today. I will start us off with the first one by Red Syrian, also Red Syrian at Twitter. Maybe it's been asked before, but what is the process when a new card or expansion is created?
Yes, I had a response to this, which was if there's like a decision tree that you have to follow, which is new expansion, yes. Dagon, no. Renfree, hell no. Plant support, never. Print it. And what's funny is
actually, Vlad replied to this, right?
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Vlad replied to it. Says, "Yeah, that's basically it." So then there was a follow up. I mean. Take the Way of the Witcher expansion. You decide on a theme, and then what? How is it decided which card character goes where? How is it going to work? And how you keep it lore friendly? And what is the time scale? Time scale is pretty much, you guys probably are aware based off of a roadmap that we are planning to launch a couple cards and have a theme around them somewhere in June, if I remember correctly, based off of the roadmap that we had. And we already were working on them in terms of like abilities, art, theme, stuff like that. So it's always a couple months out. And the process is it's a mixed bag of things, because of course we come up with a theme that we want to pursue and we build a story around it. And then we add characters. And then there are briefs for the story, briefs for the characters, which are sent to artists. And then artists, based off of that, work on stuff. Then it goes through iterations, and then we start putting those things together.
And sometimes it's very easy to have like one coherent theme. I think Way of the Witcher is a good example because it focuses on witchers that need to span across all 6 factions within Gwent. And sometimes we kind of feel like it's very hard based on the theme that we have currently and we want to like do to around that to, you know, have cards that will fit with everything. So sometimes you see things like, I don't know, treants, while the theme is, I don't know, vampires, right? But you cannot really do those things one-to-one. But that's pretty much how the process looks itself. Like there's what is really cool is like we have people coming up with the story kind of first and kind of thinking about what we want to do, which way we want to go, which characters we want to explore. And I think it also bleeds into anything that we do when it comes to like journeys. Those also are stories, and they're either stories that have been told in some way. If it's like, you know, if it was like Yennefer was kind of reminiscing her past and stuff like that. So we were exploring that. But for Regis, for example, for his journey, it's different because it takes place before Blood and Wine. I think it was before, if I'm not mistaken. So when the regeneration of Regis happens and Deadlove is helping him to kind of, you know, from what happened to him after his encounter with Vilgefortz. So, you know, these are stories that are kind of in between the lore of things that were already set. So it's really cool that we can play around with that and we can, you know, build and add bricks. Like I feel like we're always adding a little bit to the Witcher universe, which is already existing in some way. We're not changing things, but we're kind of adding building blocks around it to kind of enrich it, enhance it a little bit more. And I think, you know, this is something really awesome, and kudos to all the writers and at CDPR, because they do an amazing job and they keep stuff very, very consistent, and they're like an encyclopedia when it comes to Witcher World.
Yeah, you got to be on the ball when it comes to this stuff, because God knows that if you get one thing wrong or like the strand of hair is not the right color, like you're going to get crucified.
I remember we had like problems with Eridan's eye color and stuff like that. Like, you know, there are people in the community who are very passionate, and, you know, they know their lore in and out. They've read all the books, but they know them by heart, and they will come and they will actually point things like, this is not it. I still remember we're getting tons of emails when we had Shani showed for the first time, and she had the wrong like medical sigil on her that she was wearing on her neck, and we had to change it for it to be lore accurate in one of the patches. And I remember that was so cool that we actually did it. And that's also because that was kind of the beginning when I was working at CDPR. I was like, this is why I love this place, like the attention to detail. And, you know, when people point out mistakes, we come in and we fix them and we do them like lore accurate. That was really cool.
Yeah, there are some ridiculous like outcries too. The most recent one that I've encountered, not Gwent related, but they just released the trailer for the new Halo series, TV series. And there's a big outcry because they revealed Cortana. And I don't know if you're a big Halo fan.
I know who Cortana is.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Cortana has been there since. It's basically like an AI. It's like Master Chief's Siri, essentially. It exists in his helmet and it helps him out and guides him and whatever. But Cortana also is like, it's been played by the same actress since Halo came out like 20 years ago, and for the TV series, they revealed Cortana, but it's the same actress, but they modeled the hologram after that actress. And people are like, that's not the Cortana from the video games. That doesn't look like her. And everyone's like, what are you, out of your freaking mind? That is the actress who's played Cortana for 20 years. They allowed her, they modeled Cortana in her image. Like they sort of went reverse, where before they had Cortana and they associated a voice to her. This time, you know, it's a nice little homage to the actress who did Cortana for 20 years, where they modeled.
I love those things.
But people freaked out. And then there was a counter outcry of like, you guys are idiots, because like, so there's that kind of lore accuracy of this is the incorrect sigil. It doesn't mean what it is. Okay, let's fix it, to something like this. We're like, that's not Cortana. And then you're like, actually, that is exactly Cortana, you doofus. But anyway, all right. So that is from Red Syrian. Thank you so much, Red, for passing that along.
Yeah, awesome question.
Great question. This one's for you as well, Burza. It says, you are known as a man with a great taste for suits. Which one is your favorite? There can only be one. A garment good enough to be married in.
It's the gold suit that we had on the Skellige Challenger that you and me met. That was my favorite, with the black shirt, black pants, just golden suit. It had like a very nice gold because it was kind of like crunchy. It felt like it was just like hand painted by someone, but it was actually sturdy and part of the fabric. It was my favorite suit, and I wish I kept that one because after that, all the ones that we had for World Masters that were kind of gold, like they were never as good as that one. So that is the one that got away.
That is the one that got away. There you have it. I remember that suit. It was excellent. There was definitely some sincere jealousy. That was always the part, was like going to wardrobe and fitting and seeing what I got and seeing what you got. I'd be like, all right, I know who's in charge here. It is definitely not me. That's the guy.
Wasn't me. It was the stylist. Wasn't me. I wasn't choosing them.
No,
Yeah,
but you
like,
got the best ones. You got the flashiest ones. I was the new guy. I was the new kid on the block. So I was like, I'll just take the scraps. I'll wear like a potato sack. It doesn't matter. Like I did not give two S's about what I was going to wear.
You guys do the heavy lifting on the show itself. I just go out, look flashy for a couple seconds, and then I'm out. And then I interview a player, asking them how they feel, and that's it. Like that's how you see from me. Like, and you guys, you're doing the heavy lifting there. So that's how it works. So I need to look flashy to draw people's attention because I'm just there for a couple of seconds, and then you guys you actually carry the show with your insight, knowledge, good humor, and all that.
Well, I mean, I carry Shinmiri. I don't carry the show. I'm kidding. I had to put in a Shinmiri barb into this episode.
Nice.
I had to put it in there. This question came in, and I was like, well, this could be dangerous, but in reality, it's an excellent question. This is from.
Can I ask it? Can I ask you? Because I want your answer first.
Oh, damn right, you can.
Okay. What do you think was the most controversial decision in Gwent history after official launch? So after Homecoming, what do you think was the most controversial one?
This one's from Tankoff, a really, really awesome member of the community, somebody who has been very involved. Okay, so there is a little bit of criteria to this question because it says after official launch, so after Homecoming, and I'm trying to give a good scope to this because the first thing that popped into my mind was 3 rows down to 2, but that might be technically like before official launch, but technically it's on official launch. I will say this, because controversial always has a negative connotation when you're thinking that it's going to be a bad decision, but it's not necessarily a bad decision. It's a decision that might be viewed by the masses and not agreed upon as being good or bad. I sincerely believe that the change to the rows and the row limits was the most controversial decision in Gwent history, by far, I will say, because it really changed the dynamic of how cards are designed, how they operate, row limits, etc. From a gameplay standpoint, there was no other more controversial decision than that because people thought that it was gonna dilute the game, it was gonna make it less exciting. When in reality, it added extra layers to the complexity of the game, and it was a good thing in my opinion. I think it was met with a lot of skepticism. It was met with a lot of doomsaying in terms of what it was going to mean for the game, but ultimately it was a good decision. And I think that the controversy surrounding it, ultimately, you answer all these questions with time, and it has been several years, and it's been fine. It's been great. It's been good for the game. The other one that sort of dropped into my mind was like banning certain players for cheating related investigations, but ultimately I don't think it's a controversy if there was proven cheating, but I can't talk to that because I don't have all those details, and nor do I care to have all those details. It's not my business. So my answer is going to be the changing of rows from 3 to 2 and the limits of 9 units per row.
Nice. For me, it will be, I don't know also like how this plays at the timeline, but it will be an interesting one, which I think was controversial in the beginning, is when we introduced provision costs for the first time for cards. I think people were very afraid of it in the beginning, like because it's a game changer. but it's another option for us when it comes to actually tweaking cards and actually working on balance in the game. And I think it was a blessing for us internally. And I think it also made a lot of sense. But I feel like for some people who still play Gwent, like hitting the provisions and having it, the right amount just to hit the sweet spot is always quite difficult. And I think that it is something that was controversial, but then people kind of are like, okay, this makes sense. And they were kind of leaning towards it. Other things that kind of come to my mind were kind of things that happened earlier before. So like, gold cards not being immune anymore. That was a big one for sure. Whether not resetting everything to 1 on a row was also, a big change. And also changes to weather and how it works right now, I think was controversial, but, happened while we were developing stuff. And I think people kind of understand it now, although I know there are a lot of people who say that they will want weather to work differently than it does right now. But I mean, you always will get people who compare things to what we had previously to things what we have now. But I would say like provision costs, I think, is one of the biggest things. For me, it was like a game changer when it comes to Gwent as the game itself and how you build a deck and how you create stuff and how you need to put more thought into it. But also it was really cool to see it from the perspective of the designers who explained it to me, like how this makes balancing for them easier, better, cooler, and makes the game, more balanced than it is right now. So yeah, that's my answer.
One of my first decks that I ever played in Beta Gwent was the old school Henselt Promote deck, and
yeah, everybody played that at some time.
so good. It was so ridiculous. And if you ever want to know why they added row limits, go look at a old school screenshot of what a Henselt Promote deck looked like, and it looks like remember when you're like old school, like you're on Windows 95 and you'd beat you'd win a game of solitaire and all those things would keep bouncing and they would just stay, and like that's what it looked like. It looked like just this really scrubby looking, because there would be literally like 50 units on a row, so they would all be posted on top of each other,
stacked.
Yeah. But there was in that deck that I ran, because they had there was golden immunity, I always ran Vernon Roche because it was one of the only units that was able to target gold units and deal damage. So it was a nice tech card. It was like the first tech card I ever made, because it was like, how do I kill these gold units? And I was like, oh wait, Vernon Roche targets golds? Perfect. Nobody's gonna think of this. I'm a genius.
Exactly. Yeah. There were a lot of changes like that. The ones I'm thinking about, like changes to resilience, so that units don't stay for all 3 rounds like there. And, like we had people play dwarves back in the day. We would just boost them to astronomical, like, I don't know, 50, 60 power, and they would stay on the board and then carry over for the next 2 rounds. You're like, okay, I can't do anything unless I scorch that bad boy. Yeah, there will be a lot of changes that can come to our minds that, of things that were kind of crazy and broken throughout the days, that designers were kind of like scratching their head, how do we get around this, or how do we nerf this that it makes sense but still is kind of fun to play. So,
passive abilities, remember those?
Oh yeah, passive abilities. Oh dude, yeah, that's another one.
Blacklisting in mulligans, I don't think that's a thing anymore. These were all subtle little things that no longer are part of the game. Controversial to get rid of, maybe not, but thank you for the question, Tankoff. Oh, here's one.
My favorite one, which was everywhere. Fix the fucking coin flip everywhere.
Oh, well, justifiably so. Let's be real. The adding of stratagems was a pretty big deal. It was controversial. I don't think it was controversial, but ultimately it was necessary, because it's not. You're not out of your league to think of like the fact that, well, and we can even add on to this. I mean, the fact that there was a 10 card limit, so you couldn't dry pass. Just ultimately, the fact that there's a 10 card limit made round 2 so important. I think that a lot of people, and I'm sorry to get on a tangent here, but a lot of people do not realize the importance of round 2 and the sheer impact that a round two has in any particular competitive game, because old school players will remember the time where you would just even if you got blue coin, you just dry pass round one.
Yes.
And then you go to 13 cards in round two, try to fight that. Or round two was almost never played. It was almost never ever played. Bleeding in round two.
It was a placeholder. Whoever like won the race on round one could just dry pass round two and then just go into round three, and then you're pretty much more or less set. But I agree. I agree. Like having a limit in terms of the number of cards you can have in your hand was really good. And I think you will see this also in other card games, that hand limit is something that is important to have, and there are cards that let you exceed that limit. But in order to do that, you need to do something to have the possibility. But it lets you pretty much balance out the gameplay between two people playing the game.
Yeah, this question is from Zerunt. I know the answer to this one because I mentioned it earlier in the previous segment. Is there any restaurant in Poland you could perchance recommend me? Yes, Blue Jeans. Go to Blue Jeans. Blue Jeans.
Use the offer code Flurza15. Go to Blue Jeans. Get 50% off on your American food in Poland.
That would be my answer for it. I know that I went to, when I was there once, I had one of my favorite experiences was going to a delicious pierogi restaurant in Warsaw, where I sat at a table. It was myself, Tailbot, McBeard, and Ash Cosplay. You want to talk about taking it back in terms of old school Gwent. And that's where we asked to Tailbot why he was bringing Cleaver to the tournament, where he said it's just better and everyone else is wrong. And I said that is a guy that I can get on board with.
That's the Giga Chat or wherever you call that guy kind of answer. Like it's just better. It's just better, and
everyone
deal with
wrong.
it. Yeah. Let that sink in. You probably went to Zapiecek, if I remember correctly. That's actually a good restaurant that is recommended to foreigners coming to Warsaw.
I mean, that's what I am.
Yes.
It's true, though. Yeah.
Well, you're less of a foreigner due to your Polish roots and background there. But if someone is traveling to Poland, like that is a place that you will most likely go to because they have pretty good pierogi. But it's very difficult for me to name one spot. But I could say that there's this thing called Kampania Piwowarska. I know that's a very easy name for a restaurant, but it's they have a place called Flake, and it's kind of it's Polish food, traditional, with very good Polish beer, but it's very hearty. If you want to eat a lot, get full, and try a lot of meaty foods, that's the place I would highly recommend. Unless you're vegan or vegetarian, then probably that's not the place for you. But there are a lot of also places in Warsaw, but also in other big cities and also smaller ones. Places called they're called a milk bar, so bar mleczny. It has nothing to do with milk per se, but it's kind of like this old school. Some of them are still old school that were here back in the day that our parents, grandparents remember them being there. But there are also new ones where they kind of serve traditional Polish food, but it's more like homemade or more kind of made like you would, I don't know, if you went to school, you would have this type of meal. So it's like a schnitzel, some potatoes, and a salad for let's say, and a very traditional Polish soup, and this kind of a whole combo pack that you get and you can order. So those are places that I recommend if you want to try Polish cuisine per se. And they're also kind of starting to evolve. They're catering more to students right now because it's much cheaper, especially if, I don't know, you're renting an apartment, you're studying, and you go there, you get something quick to eat. But the food is really good. And it's very traditional homemade style, like what your mom or grandma would make for you. So those are places I would actually go for if you want the Polish experience. But we have also a lot of other foods coming from different parts of the world. We're a melting pot. Every country now in Europe, pretty much, that is in the center is a melting pot, and you get good Italian, you get good maybe Spanish, not so much, but good Italian for sure. Good Indian food, Mexican food, sometimes pretty good also, but not 100%, I would say. But yeah, I think if you go to like Warsaw, you can just choose from whatever you want, and the food is pretty good.
I'm going to your place is where I'm going. That's the first place that I'm intending on going for dinner.
Nice.
I fully am committed to, coming over and we're going to watch Sharknado and we're going to eat
You
food
got it.
and we're going to record an episode, an on location.
That would be awesome.
I think that'd be pretty damn cool. I like it. All right. Next question.
Next one.
That's you.
That's Trey at Third Larry 85. 85. Third Larry.
Mm-hmm.
Larry.
For the plant archetype that we're never getting.
Yes, exactly. This is one of the coolest questions, and I think we could do like a whole episode about it. But yeah, let's get into it. What is it about card games that first got you guys into playing them? Was it the initial thing or something different that sustains your interest today? It's a very, very smart question, I have to say.
Yeah, it's tough because it's very like I when I read this, I really was reflecting on this and trying to figure out like what is it about card games that get me into it? Is it card games in general? Because there's so many card games out there I have absolutely no interest in. Is it the lore surrounding them? Is it the stuff, the periphery? Because I know that when I first got into card games, it was Star Wars cards, and I got into Star Wars cards because I was enamored with Star Wars and the lore and the stories, etc. And at the time, the Star Wars cards that were printed by Decipher, in the card itself, the anatomy of a card. I wish I had one nearby. I do have one nearby. The anatomy of a card, you had like there's so much going on. You have like the game text, the stats, but up here in this area is card lore. And the card lore oftentimes was not necessarily all that important. Like this is a stormtrooper, so it's like, to read it, it says one of countless elite shock troops totally loyal to the Emperor, blah, 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 blah. But a lot of them gave extra information about the characters that you didn't know. Like it would talk about, like if you had the Millennium Falcon, it would talk about like what shipyard it was built in and who owned it before, so there was a lot of extra stuff. So I was collecting the cards and reading them and just enjoying more of that. But when it comes to enjoying a particular card game, for me, it has to do a lot with not necessarily the game itself, but what everything that sort of spawns out of that game, the community that spawns out of that game, the enjoyment obviously I get from playing it. But for instance, if Flesh and Blood, which is a great game, if the community around it wasn't all that fantastic, I probably wouldn't be playing it, despite the fact that the game is very excellent. For me, the reason why I get into a card game is usually it's from a recommendation, 100%. It's very, very... Gwent was a recommendation that had to be drilled into my mind twice before I dove in by McBeard ages ago, and I'm glad that I did. But before that, it was Hearthstone. I got into Hearthstone from a recommendation, and everything before that was based on... I only played Star Wars. I only played Star Wars cards. That's all I played. And once that kind of went defunct, I didn't play anything until someone said, try Hearthstone, and then try Gwent, and then try this, and then try that. So what gets me into playing them, it's people who are already in. They just drag me in, they say, try it. And that's how I get into it. And the reason why I get into it and I take their advice is because I know that these are people that I want to be more involved with, that I trust, that the communities that they're in, I can get behind. And, I rarely, if ever, regret it. Even if my time within certain card games are brief, like Mythgard, which is an excellent game that unfortunately didn't take off. I thought that game was amazing. The community could have been, the community has its ups and downs. Cards, KARDS, a great community, great people. Developers are phenomenal human beings. Magic, the community. I mean, there's so many. For me, it's not necessarily just the rules. It's everything out there, because this is my life from a career aspect as well. So if I'm getting involved, I got to make sure that not only is the game intriguing and rewarding for me to play, but if I'm going to dive in, I want to make sure that it's a comfortable space to be in, that the people that I'm interacting with are good people, because this is my life. These are my colleagues now. These are the people that I'm going to be hanging out with. I mean, if everybody in Gwent were complete jackasses, I'd not play it. Like the game itself is great, but I'd be so turned off. But the fact is that the community is awesome. So that's why I'm so into it, and that's why I've been into it for 4, 5, 6 years now.
Wow, super well said. My turn.
Absolutely, your turn. You got to say something nice about me now. That's the question.
Just to show, I also got from Flake. I also got a
stormtrooper,
and I also got a rebel trooper. So yeah, sleeved them, of course. So they're nice, kept and into the whole thing. How I first got into it was very simple. Like I got into it in school. I think I was in middle school at the time. And there were kids. One of the kids brought like a whole box of Magic cards, unsleeved at that time, of course. And he kind of was explaining to us the rules. And one of the cards that he had was actually one of these, but not foil. So a Sarah Angel, like
and that's the old school like alpha art.
Yes.
And that looks like a tournament promo.
That is a tournament promo. This is actually one that was I think issued in 1999 if I remember correctly. So it kind of came in late in the day, and it's a card that I always keep on my desk.
Oh my goodness!
Because it's not the one I had at the time. Because the one I had at the time was I think 4th edition. And it was something that I traded, I don't know, either something I had for lunch, I traded for that card because I really liked the art. So the art was the first thing that kind of captured me into it. I didn't know what flying and attacking doesn't cause Sarah Angel to tap, which was later changed into vigilance and stuff like that. I really also liked the flavor art, and the flavor text, but I really liked the art. The art was the kind of thing that got me into the game. And then I started learning about the mechanics and how to play them. And I remember like first time someone was explaining to me, you need to tap this card in order to attack and then like place it sideways. And I was like, what is this? And I haven't really played any type of like, because when you're a kid here in Poland, they teach you like traditional card games, like, you know, with the normal cards and how to play them, like not even poker, but like other like simple games connected to the standard, let's say, cards. And those for me, like they never draw me in. And while this one, it drew me in because of the characters. Like you had dragons, you had angels, you had warriors, you had things that I was kind of getting into at that time. So that was my entry point. And I think what sustained me into it is kind of learning more about it, watching more gameplay, getting to know the community that surrounds a certain card game. Like I have to up you on this one, like the thing when it comes to like communities and card games, most important thing, because if you have an awesome community, you have people creating awesome content for it, then you will totally eat up that content. You will be wanting to be part of the community, and that will like totally grab you and suck you into it. And that's what I stayed for. And based off of that, I also started to learn more about the mechanics, the cards, and how it is. And based off of that, when I had the possibility to work on Gwent for the first time, I was like, hands down, sign me up. This is what I wanted to. I would never think that I can have a like real influence on a card game that people are playing. And that kind of even sucked me in a little bit more. Like you can be part of this. And then when I had like Pavko as a card in the game, I freaked out.
It's surreal. It's the same kind of feeling that I would have as well. I mean, when you're so invested into something, and I'm obviously, I mean, you're employed by CDPR and whatnot, but I mean, that doesn't matter. At the same time, you're still a fan of card games. If I ever had a card printed of me, that is a level of immortality that I cannot. I mean, unless it's like Wolfpack level of garbage, but I mean. Ultimately, I mean, even then, you know what? If I was, I would want to be a good card or the worst card. I would just want to be a topic of discussion, is what I would be. Yeah. That is so damn cool. That's wicked. But yeah, it's incredible how it's not just a set of rules and card. It goes beyond that. It goes from the card art. Please show me that Sarah Angel again, because that is such a wicked cool card. God damn, beautiful piece to have. Yeah. Such an iconic card with just what looks like very simple yet beautiful art. It's so good.
Just an angel holding a sword, like having her head up. Like the art speaks volumes itself, and it's like, yeah, like you said, it's one of the older arts, so it's not, it's not the super fancy new ones that are like super well polished, digitalized, and stuff like that. These are the times where people were keeping it simple and drawing stuff by freehand, and then just having their art featured in a card game. And yeah, like, I mean, just looking over my desk is just deck boxes everywhere and cards everywhere, because I mean,
Yep, I'm the same way.
I mean, that's what we're into, right?
Yep, right here.
Exactly.
I have just like within really close to me, because I need to get these sort of put together, but based on like my quote unquote the flesh and blood travels and casting and whatever, I got every time that there was a major tournament or a national champion, I would have them sign the card of the hero
really
they
cool.
played, which was cool. So I have like this collection of like world champions or national champions who've signed the card. So like things like that, man. It's the community, because it was incredible. And part of that was when I played in the Canadian national championships, people were approaching me and asking me to sign their shit, and I was like, "That are you like? Don't do that. That's stupid." I'm like, "Don't ruin your card." I'm like, it was just odd, and it's a nice feeling, but ultimately the community is what makes the card games, and
Yeah. Yeah, like we said, like there were other people who got us into the game because they were trying to share kind of something that they were stoked on at one time, or it's something that they did in their free time, or someone else introduced them to it, and it was kind of something that is being passed on from person to person. And it builds that sense of community because it starts from one person, and then you're out there with, I don't know, thousands of other people. And it's also something that we mentioned in the previous episode, like whenever I go to like a local store to play MTG, like it's the same people always there, and it's your community, and you've seen these people for so many years and they're still there. Like you feel pretty much safe there and like at home. So yeah, community I think is number one thing, and I'm not surprised that we have a similar kind of like beginning plus how we see it now.
Yeah. It evolves and it becomes clear. Last question.
It's a question for you, so I'll maybe ask you this
it's
one.
good one.
It's a multi-part question for Flake. If you were made into a Gwent card, what faction would you want to be in? Would you be a mage, a soldier, etc.? And would you want to be a point slam, controller, or engine card? So if you were a card, what would you like to be?
Oh,
But specify everything.
well, there's what I want to be, and I guess what's more lore friendly to who Flake is. This one's from Adams on Reddit. Thank you very much, Adams, for the question. I would have to say, okay, so I would probably want to be some kind of mage. I think that anytime that there's a RPG or style game, like when I used to play World of Warcraft briefly, I was a mage, or I was a like a wizard or whatever they're called, like arcane mage. I think it was who I was. My character name was Cold Spark. Don't ask me why.
Ooh.
Cold Spark, because I wanted to do an ice mage, and then I just started working on my arcane abilities, and but either way, the name was already chosen. I was Cold Spark, which I thought was a pretty freaking cool name.
Pretty cool
for a wizard.
I
or
like
a mage.
it.
Anyway, I would be a mage. I think I would probably be Scoia'tael, I think. Not like an elf or anything, but someone that they maybe kind of like maybe hire, or somebody who's just been accepted into the tribes of the Broccolon Forest or whatever. I don't know. I listen. The problem is that I've read one Witcher book. I've watched the first season of the TV show. I don't know anything about Witcher. I haven't played the games. Witcher lore for me, I know this is sacrilegious to say, I don't care much about it. I love the card game. I love Gwent. But I've said this before, there's not enough room in my melon to push in Witcher-related stuff, so I can't really, be too accurate with this. But I would definitely be a mage. I would be Scoia'tael, and I would absolutely be engine-related, or something that needs some sort of answer similar to like Dolblathana Sorceress, because, frankly, if I was something that was a recurring annoyance, then that is very lore friendly to what Flake is. Flake is a recurring annoyance. He is like a witch's apprentice that grows by 2 every turn, that you have to answer or becomes more and more powerful, and ultimately it needs an answer. That is Flake. That is lore friendly Flake, a constant turn by turn growing annoyance that eventually becomes too big and you cannot remove it. That is lore friendly. That's what happened to Flake in CDPR. I'm here to stay. So there you have it.
Woo. Sad, but you're not an annoyance. But I like that you think yourself as an annoyance. But kind of, you built that answer very well, and ended on a high. Nice. I was surprised about the mage part, though. I didn't know you were that into mages. But yeah, that kind of comes out like the characters you choose in an RPG or a D&D, right? Kind of the direction you want to go in.
I like the technicality of, like when you're playing, like when I was playing World of Warcraft as like a mage or whatever, it's like, okay, I had like my frost spell. So like you see an enemy and you're there with your buddies, it's like, okay, like you were kind of the technical aspect of like, you had the tank. Like my buddy was always a tank. My buddy House, he was always a tank. So he'd always be the one aggroing the stuff and fighting it and tanking the damage. Yeah, exactly. But for me, it's like, okay, I'm the guy who's like, all right, I'm going to freeze them, slow down their attacks. I'm going to, keep all the other idiots away from you by like firing on them or creating walls or obstacles, freezing the enemies and doing that kind of stuff while you do the work. I'm your support character. I'm there to help you. I don't want to be the star of the show. You take all the damage. You take all the danger. I'm going to be in the back, being like the IT guy, just making sure that the bandwidth is correct for your attacks, so to speak. What about you? I mean, you are already a card, but I mean, is there any other, like if there's a secondary card you think that you'd want to be? Was there any changes to Pavko that you would probably want to be a little truer to who Pavel Burza is?
For sure, I've always been drawn to characters who are tanks. So like I would like Pavko to be a defender, to be like a forest defender in this case, like a Broccolon defender, defending the elves, instead of a guy who is trying to push stuff to the elves. Buy this, buy that.
He's the guy outside the Polish church selling punchkis
from his house, from his car. Yeah. But no. So yeah, I would like to be I would like to stick to Squadel for sure. I would like to be a defender. Like I think defenders are really cool, like mechanic and cards that, have some armor behind them, are kind of, shielding everybody else from the damage and keeping everyone safe. So yeah, defender for me, defender Pavko in this case. Also human, like no mages or anything like that. Wouldn't want to be an elf because it's not true to who I am. So I would stick to that.
All right, I'm in, and that's it for the mailbag this week. Excellent questions again. Thanks to everybody who submitted them. Don't forget that they are available. I mean, typically, you can always send us questions anytime at Pavel Burza or at Watch Flake on Twitter. I post a Reddit thread usually on the Monday or the Tuesday, so you guys can drop your questions there. But it's also available on playgwent.com in the forums. Community forums, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, the forums at playgwent.com. If you go to community there, you have forums there.
So you can ask questions there for sure. So all right, well, I'm going to end this episode as we normally do by saying I love you, man.
I love you too, dude. Thank you for this one. It was really, really awesome. And we went, whoa, this one was long.
Yeah, this one was long.
We always go long. It's never an hour, right?
But it's like the thing about it is that I could probably do this with you every day. It's just that we don't have that opportunity, so we got to cram in a whole lot of goodness into a small little package. So,
yeah,
that's it. So thank you so much to everybody for listening to the podcast. Again, please leave us a positive review wherever you're listening to this, be it Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that stuff. Leave a positive review. It does so much for us, not just for the sponsorship that we're looking for and such, but also just good vibes. And follow Gwentfinity on YouTube where this video appears. And that's it, man. I'll let you push us out to sail.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for watching. As always, new episode coming next week. Same time, same channel. Do not miss it. Yeah, love you all. Thank you for being part of the community. Thank you for listening. And yeah, if you like this content, let us know. Or if you want us to talk about something, also let us know. If you have any questions, let us know. We're always here for you guys, and we're happy to answer and provide the content that you guys want to see. So yeah, Flake, as always, thank you for having me. Amazing chatting to you. And yeah, catch you all later. Bye.